allows the infrastructure to be served up into as a catalog to be consumed, which has the right role-based control and access. And that's what we are focused on at VMware, is to develop and deliver that cloud management platform for IT organizations to deliver their private cloud and set up the developers to really consume things in a self-service manner. What are our key tenets for this cloud management platform? Well, it's essentially three things. Firstly, this cloud management platform should automate everything in SDDC at scale. So, whether it's VMs, whether it's NSX controllers or firewalls or vSAN, vWalls, vFlash, all these software endpoints, everything is sort of automated. It's can be not only for its initial provisioning, but its entire setup, operations, life cycle till it's torn down, and everything sort of delivered at scale. The second big thing is many of you may have already seen this, but a lot of organizations are moving to cloud teams, right, which have purview over storage, network, server, resources all together. And unless you have tools which look across the entire environment, across storage, network, and compute, and can sort of allow the management of those endpoints to be done in a more self-serve manner by your different lines of businesses, you've not really accomplished a cloud. And that's what our tools are sort of focused on, is to make sure that all the information across all these domains is consolidated, the policies there are consolidated, so that infrastructure can be delivered and consumed in this self-service, self-healing kind of manner. And the final thing is to make sure that all the analytics that are collected across the infrastructure are used to make intelligent decisions on placement, on provisioning, on capacity reclamation, and all those sort of things, which really makes the whole cloud management platform intelligent. And in order to sort of deliver this, that's where we sort of brought these two product suites to market, which is the vCloud suite and the vRealize suite. Right? The vCloud suite is the cloud management platform on top of vSphere infrastructure and is designed for your private cloud. And the vRealize suite is the management portion of it, which can go across vSphere and non-vSphere in hybrid elements. So the whole idea is that, if we sort of take the analytics from things such as vRealize operations, if we take the cost from vRealize business, we feed it into our cloud management platform, into vRealize automation, you get all these advanced use cases around workload rebalancing, what if scenarios for your infrastructure, to start to make intelligent decisions about your environment. Now, a lot of folks here are on this cloud journey, and I'm sure many of you are as well. And there's some really low-hanging fruit, right, which you can easily accomplish by just automating your environment. And that's where most people think about, hey, let's, at the first step of the cloud, of my virtualization journey, let me do infrastructure automation. Let me make sure that the provisioning is automated, it's not manual. Let me sort of make sure the infrastructure I delivered is as a service, and I can stand up a catalog and things like that of infrastructure items. The next step there is when you go towards automated app and middleware, where you start to take the infrastructure elements, combine them, and offer more complex offerings, multi-tier applications, all that in your catalog, so your different lines of business can take advantage of self-service, of self-deployment of their applications. But then you want to take it a step further and really automate your cloud, where you are completely isolating the different lines of business, allowing them to run their own development methodologies, allowing them to interact with your cloud in a very, very rapid fashion. And that's really the crux of a fully self-service kind of cloud. So, and why this session is so exciting is because when I met up with Luke several months ago and I visited his offices, he showed me how he has successfully used the vCloud suite and the cloud management platform tools to really go up this S-curve and allow his different lines of businesses to adopt the DevOps methodology and offer that sort of that cloud experience to his business. So without any further ado, let me pass it to Luke, who will walk us through how he has accomplished this at Prudential. Luke.
Jay, thank you. You had your forward-looking statement of your non-disclosure. Mine is very simple. Prudential is not endorsing any products here. I'm simply here to tell a story about what we did. And please, I hope you enjoy it. So 2 pieces of information, kind of logistics, if you will, before I get into what we did and how we did it. Prudential, you can see on the screen, I won't read it to you, but if you take one thing away from it, what do you know about Prudential? It would be that company is known for its, one of the things is its logo, which is a Rock of Gibraltar. Rock-solid company that's been around for 150 years. And I share with you that not because you should or shouldn't go out and get Prudential products, but because we use that methodology and that mindset in our infrastructure and in our IT, in our architecture. And that's what we've built this foundation upon. And then just my basic bios, the degree from Carnegie Mellon. And I do want to acknowledge, also because I get this from Prudential as well, my family who let me come out here. It's my daughter's first birthday today. And I share that with you because I hope you have families and things back home that recognize the sacrifice you make and you get a chance to thank them. Our CIO, every town hall starts out acknowledging the sacrifices that we in IT make and the people behind us who enable us to do those things. So I think that's a great message that she delivers to us every single quarter. And hopefully you come from a place that also recognizes that sacrifice. So why are we doing anything? IT seems to be a place where you can have a job, you can make money, and you go on. And things were going nice and smooth. And in the auto industry with fuel economy, it was also going nice and smooth for quite a period of time. And I kind of relate that to the second tier of application development, the distributed model, an era where it lived in this nice flat space for quite a while, and then all of a sudden something changed, and we've got to do something better for some reason. I think right now in IT, we happen to be in this upward trend. At the beginning of a new era, it seems like some are calling it third platform, cloud-native application world. But basically, we're on this cusp right now, and I hope you're excited about it because I really am, where things that were happening 18 months ago will not be happening 18 months from now. Things that were happening 6 months ago will not be happening 6 months from now. And we're seeing that in the financial services industry. So why are we changing? It's really just a comparison to the auto industry changes. Guess what? We are as well. And with that comes DevOps, Agile, third platform, and cloud. It's sort of the reason why we're embarking on this. So let me bring it into Prudential, because I'm not here to talk about fuel economy. Agility was one of the challenges, is one of the challenges Prudential faces day in and day out. Constantly being bombarded with competition who's able to do things faster, more agile, and being challenged from our business partners to say, how can you deliver upon this? And the traditional virtual environments that we're running today, although rock solid and stable, have operational elements to it that don't lend themselves to rapidly changing and evolving. And that was one of the agility challenges that came to us. From a security perspective, right, everything runs better. The public cloud rather solves world hunger and everything in addition to it. Unfortunately, in a regulated industry, that's not as easy as setting up a VPN tunnel and shipping workload out to public clouds. So one of our challenges is offering DevOps in an environment that is highly regulated and isolated. OpEx. Not sure about you all, but we have a traditional stack of IT that's great, very established, and making the firm a lot of money. That continues to run, and if I put that over here, we have this brand new opportunity of DevOps and really exciting stuff happening over here. One thing that my team wasn't able to do was to say, okay, we're going to stop worrying about all this production stuff and let it go off by the side, and we're going to focus exclusively over on here and do the DevOps thing. And so to that end, the challenge, of course, is how do we keep the lights on, keep the firm making money at the same time, being innovative. From a CapEx perspective, this is kind of where this public cloud thing comes in and looks really appealing. And one of our challenges was, how do we figure out how to do this and offer this in the regulated, isolated, in-house environment of building a new environment and doing it in such a way that we have a building block approach so that we don't have this huge capital expenditure that needs to be stomached before we're even generating any revenue on the new products and features that our developers are introducing in the DevOps world. And, of course, the DevOps. This is a funny one in Prudential. Prudential is a worldwide company, and we have many different lines of business, and those businesses run many different applications. Some that are on a very, very advanced journey into a DevOps space. And we show them a GUI, and they say, that's great, let me have an API, and I never want to see your web page again. I have others who didn't realize that their applications were running on top of operating systems, and we gave them a GUI where they can deploy an OSI, and they are as happy as the developers who just got an API to call all their workload from. Bottom line is I identified five challenges that the Prudential was up against in trying to deliver on DevOps, and that's kind of where this story starts from. So what did we come up with? I'll get into the particulars a little later in the demo, but high level, it's a multi-data center virtual private cloud built on really two fundamental concepts. We have a software stack that's built right now on the vRealize suite, and then we have a converged infrastructure stack. Identify those as two main building blocks, and they happen to be both basically on kind of two different vendors. And the idea there is, you have a two-vendor shop, or rather, you can have a fragmented or you can have a single vendor. The neck to choke, it's a little violent, but the idea being is we have points of contact in and out of commercial supported platforms where we can get things done. And part of that keeping the lights on means that my team and Prudential's technologists don't exactly have all the time, all day long to go out and be writing code and updating things. And where we can, we leverage our vendors to do that. And on the hardware side, the agility in the DevOps space, what we're seeing, especially as we open it up, and developers are now finally realizing that they can devise applications and build them in a very efficient manner, as opposed to giving 24 cores and 600 gigs of memory, and I'll use hardly any of it. With that, though, comes the responsibility of managing infrastructure in such a way that you can dynamically scale. And part of that, for us, has been through hardware converged appliances to make it happen. So my team was historically vSphere operators, and we came through and really were pretty well entrenched in this second generation, keep the lights on, very resilient infrastructure because the applications themselves couldn't be trusted. Now moving into this new world where the infrastructure, you may not even have complete control over it or any control over it, and now the applications themselves are getting smarter and more reliable, caused us to rethink what we do. And you can read our mission statement, but the three things that kind of stick out there are continuous application delivery. The idea that we're no longer going to be dealing with quarterly or annual releases or semi-annual releases. This is going to be something that day in and day out software is going to be revved in this environment, is now a fundamental tenet of the way in which we operate and think. The second part is automating. As I said, the traditional OpEx and infrastructure that's running and keeping the business very solvent is taking a lot of time. So how can we do things in a smarter, more automated manner so that we can, in fact, deliver new services? And applications is key. The transition from thinking of ourselves as infrastructure providers who support X number of operating systems to now we're supporting applications is a great challenge. It was a great challenge for us to overcome because it was much more abstract to think about applications as opposed to I manage this number of VMs for this business and this number of VMs for this business. But it's great because now it's bringing us higher into the value chain that our businesses are operating in, and it's enabling us to share with our business partners some of the experience and the intellect that we have as technologists to help them solve business challenges. So what does it look like? Well, first of all, the concept PRUVPC, Prudential Virtual Private Cloud, is what we call. And in addition to becoming more like developers, we are also becoming more like marketing people. And that was a really hard thing for us to start stomaching. Jay, we appreciate everything that you and VMware represent, but when the sales guys come out with the slides, it's unbelievable. But what we did, in fact, and realized was that the service itself doesn't necessarily sell itself. People are ingrained and working and living in the way in which they have for the last 20 or 30 years. And we're introducing a brand new shift into this, and for sometimes that's a very hard thing for people to grasp. So what do? Well, I'll talk about the picture first on the right side of the screen. And that picture represents our virtual private cloud. And we describe it to people as a hotel. And think of a hotel and leasing out a floor of a hotel. The great thing about that, assuming it's a decent hotel, is that whatever happens on floor 8 doesn't impact what's happening on floor number 9. And we challenge our business partners to go in and do as much crazy, exciting things as you want on your floor because you're fenced off, you're protected. Somebody else isn't going to interrupt you. And that's done through a lease program on a monthly basis. Here you go, block of rooms in a hotel. Be as aggressive or as nimble as you'd like. Self-service and automation is fundamental to this, right? Not bringing over an entire operational model, which is very well versed in delivering production-level support, means that the developers who may not know how to install an operating system or configure a network, allocate additional storage to a server, need a way to do that in a quick, easy, configurable manner so that at 2 o'clock in the morning when they have a great idea, they're not waiting until 10 o'clock for someone to process a ticket. Isolated and secure. This is the concept around floor 8's having a great time, but floor 7 studying for an exam coming up. The concept being using network isolation, we allow you to blow up yourselves if you need to for some reason and protect yourselves from something that somebody else is doing in the environment. In addition, protect you from impacting something you're running in the production environment. So there's a fence around the entire environment that protects you and the rest of the enterprise from what you're doing. Competitive advantage. Here's one of the areas where we have a great level of success in explaining to the businesses when we're being compared to public providers. What do I get from Prudential's cloud that I can't get from externally? And part of that was we make your transition from development into production easier, smoother, more transparent. We do that by layering in services inside of our virtual private cloud that mirror the services that we offer in our production environment, right? So our production domain, for example, doesn't span into our virtual private cloud, but we have a domain that mirrors what's in production. We found that the businesses have really appreciated that because when they were standing up domain controllers in their public cloud segments, things weren't going so well as they were moving back in and realizing that there are attributes in Active Directory that were not carrying forward. And then streamlined platform, really. The idea being a single shop, one interface, come in, consume the services as simple, GUI-based, or as advanced as you want. Open access to the APIs, all documented through a streamlined portal. Some more basic logistics around it is the concept of this block, or the floor of hotels we explained to each of our businesses. Start there. If you find that that's not enough for you, we'll bolt on additional blocks. From an operational perspective and doing this in an automated manner, we made our life easy, and we said we have an incremental unit of compute that we are going to lease to you. If that's not enough, you can have a second, you can have a third, you can have a fourth. And by establishing that, there is some push and pull around, this is great, but I need something a little bit more customized. The offering is a small enough building block that we find people are finding creative things to do with the additional memory, for example, that they didn't need, but they did need additional storage. And that block, I should tell you, includes the CPU capacity, the memory, the storage, as well as a network, a segmented, micro-segmented network that you can operate in addition to access to all of our public service catalog items, as well as your own private service catalog for publishing things that are specific to your line of business. Initially, only non-prod workloads. You'll hear this later in the discussion, but this is one of the ways we were able to move very, very quickly in a highly regulated industry with a very demanding customer population to encourage, entice them to come in and try something new and start working in-house. And the way we got around this, or the way that this works, is first off, if you went publicly and did it on your own, you wouldn't have the gold shield of Prudential IT to come in and help you. And we found that by doing DevOps or test dev workload, we're able to introduce new features very rapidly and keep the developers excited and interested in the offering, as well as to allow them to move quickly. As I said, we know about the monthly lease and utilization determined by the user. There are certain things that can be overcommitted, others that there are hard limits on, but really what we're finding is that some of our developers, some of our businesses are doing side-by-side comparisons and finding that their blocks are very, very overcrowded, populated, and they are turning things off and on in order to run their testing. Others are doing performance-related testing, and they're using the blocks in a very very inefficient manner for that. But use case seems to fit multiple lines of business. So the operations support model, again, critical to small DevOps team. Running this platform, this service for our development community, and how do we kind of make that happen is that GBTS, that's the infrastructure team, supports the underlying infrastructure of the virtual private cloud, the hardware, the software stack, making it available for you, the user, to come in and use. The developer supports everything inside the block. This is the 4R model when it comes to troubleshooting. A little tough to sell at first, but they're quickly coming on board with it. First off is if it doesn't work, go ahead and reboot it. If that doesn't work, you're going to revert to a previous known snapshot. If that doesn't work, you'll redeploy it. And if that doesn't work, you go ahead and rebuild your application. We find that some of the initial hesitation of I didn't need to do that in the past, so why do I need to do that now, is overcome by I can do it, and I don't need to wait for you to do it for me, so great, you give me the tools I need, I'll go ahead and do it on my own. Developers deploy decommission, as well as they control the source code. On the deploy decommission, one of the interesting things we're seeing is some of our lines of business are leasing out parts of their block to development communities within, so it's sort of a sub-tenant lease, and kind of interesting, and they're doing some very interesting things in it.
Yeah, if I may ask you a question here. So you've set up your DevOps cloud, you're leasing infrastructure to, you're kind of like an Amazon within Prudential, right? You're leasing infrastructure to all your lines of business. And you said that you were allowing the teams to completely support themselves on their own.
Right.
How many people are in your team?
So, good question, Jay. This was prepared, sorry. There are 5 people who happen to be running and supporting the entire DevOps stack. I don't have the specific